do you make it mean when you feel a sense of failure or rejection? What do you make it mean about yourself or about the world? So if you get a rejection email after a job interview and your heart automatically drops, you'll want to give yourself permission to feel that zing and then choose to change your perspective after you've felt it. Hello friends, I'm Ashleystahl, career coach, host of the U-Turn podcast, and best-selling author of the book also named U-Turn. Get unstuck, discover your direction, and design your dream career. I'm here to help you create a career that really lights you up, and a lot of that comes down to how you respond to rejection. Like my grandma used to always tell me, knock on hundreds of doors and you'll always get at least one yes. And that one is the one that totally changes your life. Like dating and finding the right partner for you, job hunting is a sifting process. While most people find job hunting to be stressful and negative, I find it to be exciting and full of opportunity. So if you're in the process of applying for jobs and you want to land an offer that's really meaningful, know that rejection is inevitable. Rejection is really just the cost of admission when it comes to having a fulfilling career. In fact, even the most brilliant minds in the world were rejected at some point or another. Stephen King's breakthrough novel Carrie was rejected 30 times before being published. Marilyn Monroe was told by modeling agencies to consider becoming a secretary. Disney was told that the mouse character was a joke. Beyoncé lost on the Star Search show in the 1990s. J.K. Rowling, the author of the Harry Potter series, was living on welfare before her writing took off. Steven Spielberg got rejected from film school 3 times. I really could just go on and on and on, but can you imagine if they let rejection stop them? Whenever I see someone successful in the way that these names are that I mentioned, I just think to myself, wow, they must have a really kind conversation going on in their head about failure. Meaning they didn't make it mean to give up. They didn't make it mean that they were on the wrong path. They made it mean that failure is a part of the process or an invitation to just keep trying. Here's how to respond and not respond to a rejection letter. Number 1, always write a thank you note and make it powerful. A thank you note is something you should be sending within the first 5 to 6 hours after every job interview, but also doing it after a rejection demonstrates even more professionalism while giving you a unique opportunity to somehow pitch yourself in the future. The first thank you note must come right after the interview because you do not want to risk the employer making another decision for another candidate, assuming you forgot to do it, and there's data to prove that thank you notes are necessary for many recruiters to consider you. This initial thank you note is simple. Thank them for their time, let them know what you learned, affirm your interest in the role, and let them know you're looking forward to hearing from them. But the second thank you note, if you get that rejection email, should be a lot more personal. Let them know how grateful you are for their consideration, what you find special about the company and their team or the conversations you have, and that you hope you can stay in touch in the future for opportunities, especially if their hiring needs change as it relates to the position or teams for which you're interviewing or interested in. Number 2, do not ask for feedback. Do not, I repeat, ask for feedback. Did you know that a lot of employers face legal liability when they give you feedback? When a job seeker asks why they didn't get a job, human resources is walking into a bee's nest of legal issues when they reply. In fact, I remember being 5 years old on the playground, typical little girl growing up in LA, and I'd say to the other kids, I'm gonna sue you if you don't play handball with me. Needless to say, we live in a litigious world. People sue people over nothing. In fact, I once read about a burglar who slipped in someone's house that they were robbing, and they sued the family and they won. So point being, don't put them in this uncomfortable position. Number 3, whatever you do, do not burn the bridge. There was one night when I lived in Washington, D.C. that I was a broke college student at a really nice bar where I was hungry, but I remember I couldn't afford the food. I was sitting there with my friends and I saw a man across the bar and he was cutting his burger in half. I remember walking on over as bold as ever, and I smiled and I asked him, what are you gonna do with the other half of that burger? And he laughed at me and he said, do you want it? And we ended up talking for a while. Really nice guy, very platonic, respectful energy. And at the end of me just sharing my entire life story at age 21, he ended up telling me he was running for the mayor mayor of Washington, D.C. I literally wanted to crawl into the corner of the bar and disappear. I pretended I was fine, but I was dying inside. So sure enough, I had a meeting at the White House the following morning, and as I stepped into the security line, I noticed a man smirking at me. Guess who? The candidate for the mayor. The world is big, but it's also kind of small, and there is nothing quite like a pandemic to have reminded us that we are one and we are so connected. Take a moment after this video and ask yourself, how do you want to show up professionally? Chances are you don't want to eat some guy's burger in a bar if you're a broke college student like I was. Good on you. But really, we don't take the time to think about who we want to be in the world and professionally, and it's so important that we're intentional about that. After all, we don't really develop a professional sense of self when we're growing up. We're just thrust into the workforce and we flounder if we don't come back to that vision for who we are. Think about someone who professionally inspires you and ask yourself, how do they show up? What is it about them that you find leader-like, respectable, or inspiring? In the end, you are the only person who can decide how you respond to a rejection letter. You can choose to put a positive spin on it and look at it as a learning experience, or you can walk away resentful. If you did put a positive spin on it, which I hope you did, expand your network by adding the interviewer on LinkedIn. And who knows, they might have another opportunity for you in the future, or maybe they can point you in the right direction. On that note, be sure to check in on your rejection emails every now and again. Keep tabs on companies you want to work for. Follow up with them. Keep a spreadsheet. Try to follow up 1 to 2 times a year and check and see if there's any need for your work or your talent. Taking a graceful approach to rejection will help lessen your anxiety and give the employer a positive, lasting impression of you. As I say in my book, U-Turn, how you relate to the issue is the issue. The fact is that if you learn how to, you can use rejection as a launch pad to get future opportunities. But don't let rejection stop your commitment to finding a job or doing whatever it is you really want to do. The sooner you get back in the game, the sooner you are landing your dream job. Rejection is a part of life and it will always be. You can either choose to embrace it as a way of life or resist it and suffer. Remember, someone with the same experience as you is where you want to be simply because they thought it could happen for them. Don't let this get in your head. How do you recommend responding to rejection? How have you turned a rejection into a win? I would love to hear in the comments box. And in the meantime, I'll see you next week.